For a bit of context, I work at a gas station in the backwoods of Tennessee, and that's where this happened. Last night when I clocked in at 8, the store was completely dead. I figured it was going to be a pretty easy night because the road the station is on is not the main road. Actually, it used to be up until about a decade ago when a new freeway was built. This led basically every business that was here to pack up and leave their old building abandoned. Thanks to this, there are a lot of abandoned buildings on this stretch of road that local druggies tend to claim as their own. Anyways, at around 11 I only had an hour left of my shift, and so I figured I should actually get some work done instead of just sitting around and doing nothing. I'm 18 and so I work the shift alone, which is nice because it means I can do pretty much whatever I want. This is normally pretty great because I can do whatever I want so long as I get what I need to get done finished. I noticed we were almost out of barbecue chips, and so I need to go get them from our storage space, which is for some reason in the basement of the station. I've always hated going down there just because it gives me the creeps. Why the owner decided to store everything down there is beyond my comprehension. I got about halfway down the steps before something fell on the other side of the room, and it sounded like footsteps were coming my way. I sprinted up the stairs and locked the door to the basement, panicking like a madman the entire time. When I got back upstairs, I went behind the counter to the store computer so I could check the security cameras. I flicked over to the one that looks into the basement, and there was this guy just standing there smiling up into the camera. He had a look of absolute insanity in his eyes, but he didn't look like the average junkie in the area. He was clean-shaven and dressed in what looked to be jeans and a button-up of some kind. Honestly, if he'd walked into the store, I wouldn't have batted an eye, but because he was down there and he was just looking into the camera smiling, it shook me to my core. I called the store owner, and at first he was pretty mad. I called him in the middle of the night, but once he heard how freaked out I was, his tone changed. He told me he'd be there in 15 minutes, and just to lock the main door to the store and make sure the man didn't go anywhere. I asked if I should call the police, but for some reason he didn't want me to do that just yet. I locked the entrance to the gas station and went back to looking at the man. He was still there, just smiling up at me. About 3 or so minutes of him staring at me later, and he walked out of view of the camera. My boss showed up soon after, armed with a shotgun, and when I let him in, he immediately went to the basement. I went with him just because I felt safe with there being another person there, and all but we found nothing. My boss ultimately chalked this up to me being tired and hallucinating the man, but I know what I saw. This has me scared shitless as I clock back into work in a few hours, and I'm really dreading it. Sorry for rambling, but I just needed to get this off my chest as it scared me to my core. I reached for another can of warm Coca-Cola, a godforsaken hole in which even the refrigerator died for a long time. Actually, I'm in the office building of an old gas station, where I got a job for the summer. There's nothing keeping me in the city, so I've simply been living here for a month and a half now. I keep in touch with the outside world via a tablet. My job consists of issuing fuel receipts and selling cigarettes and chewing gum. Nothing special. Tens of kilometers from the nearest populated area, you'll be lucky if a dozen drivers drop by in a day, so life is good. There are no people, the bosses don't bother you, hang out in the fresh air and take pictures of the panorama to the envy of your friends, dying in the smog of the metropolis. In my closet, there is a couch for sleeping, a cash register, a table where I eat and keep records, a tray with cigarettes, chewing gum and other gum, a non-working refrigeration unit filled with soda and juices, a couple of chairs, a table lamp, and plasterboard walls. The situation is simple and already so familiar that it seems that even with my eyes closed I could easily cope here. There is also a toilet outside, but nothing to write home about. Outside the window lies a typical Russian field, sown with wheat. The bread spikes wildly, shines golden in the sun, waves it in the wind like your sea. Can't take your eyes off pure zen. The sky here is starry, not like in the city. You go out into the street at night, throw your head back, and your eyes are already dazzled by them. Can't count. To the left of the route is a field, to the right is an impenetrable forest. They say that even the wolves have not disappeared there yet. I've never heard them, really. But one day, right at dawn, a handsome deer came out of the thicket. I love the wilderness, so I lived in harmony with nature and Wi-Fi until this happened. Early in the morning, as usual, I left the closet for a light jog around the gas station to finally wake up and gain energy before a long day. Having started the first lap, I tripped over a cobblestone that turned up along the way. He almost fell to the ground, but kept his balance, automatically looking at his feet, and he was stunned. In the dust, In addition to the traces of my sneakers, I made out the imprint of a bare foot. Crap. In a forgotten outback where a car passes by once an hour, someone barefoot was hanging out under my windows. I was quite surprised and at some point even got cold feet. I decided to check where the tracks led, but unfortunately, I most likely trampled the rest because I didn't find anything. Shrugging my shoulders, I finished my run and returned to my usual activities, soon forgetting about this incident. But the strange trail still worried me. Nightmares came at night. I dreamed that I was standing at the edge of a field. The rye dances, the breeze ruffles the bleached hair. I can smell the sweet air, but something is wrong. Dark figures are moving straight towards me across the field. Tall, with arms outstretched, hobble in the distance. Quietly around, I stand rooted to the spot, and the figures are blacker than night. I can't see the details. They are approaching, but still far away. I turn away from them and wake up. Deep night. The air rings. It's so quiet. Even the cricket fell silent. I sit on the internet for a while and then switch off until the morning. The day passes as usual, and in the evening I had a conversation with a peasant from these parts. Gorbachev's old Volga, a leather jacket, gold teeth, a sly squint, and a strong Java. We both have nothing to do. We chat about this and that. Suddenly a man go ahead and ask me if any strange things have happened to me here. I vividly remembered that story with the trail, and at the risk of being ridiculed, posted it. Oh, says the man. So, brother, she came in. I'm surprised. What is she like? Who is this? What? He answers. Haven't you heard anything about this gas station? It turned out badly, to be honest. How was it? A guy worked here before, about 6 months ago somewhere. Just an ordinary guy, just quiet. Smyrnaya. Well, this story happened in late autumn. A girl came to his gas station. I don't know how it is or what it is, but it's just a shame she didn't drive by. The boy killed her. He dishonored and strangled her, poor fellow, and hanged himself. They were found the next day. She is on the ottoman. It hangs on the chandelier. That's how it is, bro. I often drive past here, but every time I see a new face. People don't linger here. What can I say? It's a bad place. Don't be afraid. God won't betray you. The pig won't eat you. What can I say? I was inspired. It chilled me so much that a herd of goosebumps ran down my back. I thanked the man for the interesting fable for the coming sleep, mentally wishing him neither the bottom nor the tire. He gave me 3 fingers and set off, and I stayed. I toiled without sleep for a long time. I made some mint tea and surfed the internet without pleasure. Then the dream overcame me. The field again. A girl is running across the field, white light dress, dark hair. I watch her for a while, then I notice them, those black shadows. Hands in front of you, slowly floating in the sea of rye silence. The girl runs. Not seeing the road, she is terribly scared. She is saved. I understand. The shadows are not hunting me at all. Next scene, the victim stumbles, the white dress drowns in the rye, and the figure quietly bending over her. I wake up. I'll dream about this, I think. Once again, I remember yesterday's villager. Damn him. I stretch and go out to do my morning chores. Then I find a red ribbon tied to the doorknob of my closet. I'm drenched in cold sweat, wondering where this could have come from, and whose bad jokes these are. Is it really yesterday's interlocutor? There is no reason. He has nothing to do except intimidate the townspeople, although, who knows? In short, I spent the day in doubt and apprehension, trying to get anyone who stopped by to talk to me. Loneliness pressed, interfered, and weighed down. It began to get dark, and I felt completely uneasy. Usually no one comes at this time, but then something loudly cracked from the side of the road, branch under the wheel, but I didn't hear any engine noise. Strained, turning into hearing. There was silence in the air. A mosquito buzzed past the heavy bomber. I grabbed my phone and started dialing my friend's number to distract myself. Not a subscriber. Okay, another one. Beep, another beep. And then the silence was broken by a heart-rending, wildest female scream from the direction of the field. Out of surprise, he dropped the phone, froze, neither alive nor dead, completely stunned. I've never heard anything like this even in horror films, let alone at a remote gas station in total isolation. I looked at my hands. They are shaking. Of course, your mother, scream again. Already closer, very close to me, panic began. Not knowing where to hide, he sat down on the floor by the window, so as not to see. It's here for my soul, isn't it? I want to go home, anywhere. Just don't stay here. Quiet. Silence is worse. What does she hide within herself? Unbearable. I sat there for 2 minutes. My heart was beating the Imperial March. My fingers clung to the old carpet. God, there's no way I'll get up. If I have to, I'll spend the night on the floor. I won't budge. Your mother. I forgot to close the windows. It will climb through the windows. All of a sudden, then, as if to confirm my thoughts, a hoarse came from right above my head. It's as if someone wants to breathe but can't. I'm stuck in a wall. The lady has died. It inopportunely flashed through my head. There was another Subi upstairs. As if spellbound, I raised my head and looked at the window. Empty. He covered his face with his hands, hid his head in his knees, and shook like a leaf. The hoarse coughing sound came again, already at the front door. I don't know why I did this, but I couldn't resist. I fell down on the carpet and fixed my gaze on the gap between the door and the floor. Through the crack one could see graceful white feet, slightly touched with blue. Mother of the Lord. Then my gaze caught the phone I had dropped earlier. He lies on the floor. You can reach him. I need to take a picture. An idiotic thought flashed through my head. A ghost caught on camera is a sensation, and it doesn't matter that not everyone will believe it. I will know the truth. Captivated by excitement, before which even horror receded, I deftly rushed for the phone. Armed with a lousy camera, he crouched to the floor. His legs were still there, bluish, black edges of roughened nails. I took a couple of pictures. I immediately went into the gallery to check what happened, but nothing. There is a door, a floor. There is emptiness in the gap. It's as if nothing stands in front of me now. Cold sweat streamed down his back. His heart thundered treacherously throughout the closet. The thirst for sensation disappeared, leaving me alone with what stood outside the door. There was another wheezing sound outside, and then something happened that added gray hair to my hair. The door handle moved, at first lightly, as if they were testing her by touch, then more persistently, more brazenly. Something shook the door with force. She moaned in loops, and I almost gave my soul to God. I would give anything in the world right now just for this to go away. I began to look around the room, feverishly wondering what would be useful in the struggle for life. No, it's not the same. I won't throw soda cans and garbage from the trash can at her. Stop. Earn. It was into this that I threw the red ribbon tied to the door handle, tied for a reason. There was no longer any doubt about it. Trying not to make a sound, I quietly crawled to the trash can and tilted it. Here she is, the villainess, read from above. He carefully took the tape with 2 fingers. It was quiet outside. Holding his breath, he struck the lighter. The flames started quickly and spread upward. The silk turned black before our eyes with a disgusting squeak. The fire consumed him, not even leaving ashes. The room was filled with the smell of burnt rags. I disdainfully threw the burnt piece of fabric onto the carpet, not at all surprised that soon there was no trace left of the murder weapon. Fire cleanses everything, I remembered for some reason. I sat on the floor in absolute silence and desperately waited for what would happen next, because I couldn't think of anything else. And then laughter came from behind the door, pure girlish laughter. He was so happy, sonorous, like a forest stream, that my soul immediately brightened. I looked at the door already, knowing that there was no one behind it. The laughter sounded as it moved away, and I gradually came to my senses. She left. Somehow I survived until the morning, and then, with the first hitchhiker, I got to the city. Naturally, he left work. This happened during my service in the far north. I once went on a business trip to a neighboring district, to the city of N. I went in my car, barely persuaded the commander, but I didn't want to jump on the train, and I wanted to turn around quickly. New Year was just around the corner. I worked, got ready to head back, and then, as luck would have it, the frost hit harder. By local standards, it's not exactly cold, 30 to 35 below zero. I think about 1,000 kilometers, not very far. I have a good car, and I really want to go home. I poured coffee into a thermos and grabbed sandwiches. There will be few objects of civilization in the form of cafes along the way. After all, it's the north. The road flowed like a smooth gray canvas among the vast white desert. Drifting snow swept along the side of the road, and the dim northern sun still lifted my spirits. We were already 200 kilometers behind, and suddenly the light blinked. We were running out of gas. I couldn't believe my eyes. On leaving the city, I filled up the tank full. Fortunately, after a few kilometers, I saw a sign, gas station in 1,000 meters. I thought again. On the way here, I didn't even notice this gas station. The gas station appeared out of the frosty fog. The illumination was shining blue. The sign of a small store coquettishly winked with the image of a cup of coffee. There were no customers at the gas station except my car. It's not surprising normal people sit at home in such cold weather, I thought, and putting the refueling nozzle into the tank, I went to pay for the fuel. The cashier girl struck me with her paleness and breathtaking manicure. Her nails were painted with bright red varnish of unimaginable length. I usually don't pay attention to this, but what caught my eye was that the polish had a strange effect. My nails seemed as if they were wet. For some reason, this made an unpleasant impression on me, and I put the card for paying for fuel on the table. I did not hand it over to the cashier. In order not to stare at the cashier's hands, I began to examine the assortment of the small store. Having accepted the payment, the girl handed me my card and a piece of paper. I ask you to fill out the form. Today we have few clients, so when you fill out the form, I will give you a discount. What a discount! Payment has already been accepted, I thought, and began to refuse, citing the fact that I was in a hurry to get home before dark. For some reason, it was unpleasant for me to be in this room. I wanted to get out into the frosty air as soon as possible. The girl began to speak more insistently and tried to push a piece of paper and a pen into my hands. At that moment, for some reason, a shiver ran through me to the very top of my head. I left the offer unanswered and literally jumped out of the store. My hands were shaking and everything was shrinking inside. I couldn't understand what was happening to me. After spilling drops of gasoline from the pistol on myself, I slammed the tank lid, stumbled, climbed into the car, and for some reason blocked the door. Having calmed down a little, I started the engine and drove out onto the highway. In the rearview mirror, I saw the blue lights of a gas station and a cashier girl who was standing at the exit of the gas station and looking after me. She was without outerwear, in a light jacket. Her long black hair was tossed by the evil north wind. Horror squeezed my heart. I pressed the gas and grabbed the steering wheel. I no longer dared to look back. I'm an adult. I thought, well, I'm really scared of a girl with nails. My nerves need to be treated. So, arguing with myself, I pulled myself together and gradually my heart stopped beating like crazy. And then, what the hell? The light bulb blinked. The same one. It can't be, I thought. Turning to the side of the road, I got out of the car, knelt down and carefully examined the body from all sides. There were no visible leaks anywhere. Everything was fine. I opened the hood and made sure that everything was in order there too. Where's the gasoline? I drove no more than 5 kilometers. After refueling, I got into the car, perplexed by such oddities. Gasoline is running out. The gas station is 5 kilometers behind. And then I realized that I couldn't go back there. I just couldn't. That's all. You'll go ahead. I decided, since soon there should be a small village along the way and I'll sort it out there. The winter day is short. The sun was already hanging like a dim spot above the horizon when I saw her. She stood at the exit of a gas station. Blue illumination lights illuminated her, a girl with black hair dressed in a light jacket. I was afraid to take my eyes off the road and look at her. My foot automatically pressed the gas pedal to the floor, and I slipped past those blue lights. What was it? The thought was beating in my head, and sweat flowed in sticky streams down my back. And then I began to pray, almost for the first time in my life. I did not pray. I prayed as best I could, in my own words, out loud, and almost breaking into a scream. After 30 kilometers, a village appeared. I stopped on the side of the road, opened a thermos, and began to drink a hot drink. I was glad to see rare passers-by as if they were family. Knowing that there was a gas station at the exit of the village, I drove forward. The gas station attendant, a local boy, was wrapped in the high collar of an oily jacket. I got out of the car and asked him, have they opened a new gas station about 35-40 kilometers from the village towards town end? The boy stared at me in surprise and said what I already knew. Behind, there is no edit there. The nearest gas station is in that direction, in the city in itself. Having filled the tank full, I reached home in the evening. The next year in the summer, I had the opportunity to travel that road again. With 2 colleagues, we were traveling to the city of N for work needs. Having passed the village, I looked out of the car windows with fear. But, fortunately for me, there was only a northern summer landscape. No gas stations,